What's it like to study here?
So actually, when I am actually studying, it's amazing. I absolutely love the library in Building 2. It is so pretty. So there's that. I reckon it's got the best library in Sydney. And then when I want to chill out a bit, I mean, Sydney's an amazing place for a start. But UTS has such a convenient location. So it's so close to Central. Get on a train, get on a ferry to Manly. I've done that a couple of times where I just went from uni, brought my surfboard in, went to Manly, had a bit of fun time there, came back here.
G'day and welcome to the Choosing Your Uni podcast. I'm Rob Malicki, your host, coming to you today from Garrigal Land in Sydney. And I'm very fortunate today to be on the campus at the University of Technology, Sydney, in its very centralised location on Broadway, not far from Central Station. And for those of you who are listening along, if you can picture this, we're sitting in the central courtyard of UTS. It's a beautiful grassy patch in between these tall buildings. We've got the classic UTS Tower building going back to the 1960s, which is this kind of, there's no other word for it, ugly old tower. But what's beautiful about UTS is the fact that there's so many wonderful, beautiful new buildings that sort of contrast with that 1960s brutalist architecture. We've got kind of wavy balconies, lots of glass. Students are sitting out on the grass. People are setting up for open day on the weekend. And the vibe is just really nice under this beautiful late winter Sydney sky. And I'm joined, God, that was a long way to get to it, Lewin. It's great to be joined by Lewin, who's a student here at UTS. Mate, I'm very sorry about my long-winded introduction. Thanks for joining me on the podcast. We did get there eventually. I thought we might start our conversation today. We're going to talk a lot about UTS and about your journey into UTS and through this place and what you enjoy about it and all those sort of things. But maybe we can start with the HSC because from what we were talking about briefly before we started recording, you didn't have the easiest journey through the HSC.
No, not at all. So I went to a school that was very academic. They pushed you hard. If you fell behind, it just felt so hard to catch up. And that was the case for me. I fell behind and felt like I was swimming aimlessly. Yeah, and I don't think I didn't really catch up. And so I felt very overwhelmed, unhappy at times, feeling like I was a bit of a failure. And I kind of just gave up by the time HSC came around. Yeah, and so I didn't end up with a good ATAR and didn't know where I was going to be heading in life, what I was going to do. Yeah, that was school in essence, and it's very different from where I'm at now, that's for sure.
Yeah, and like I don't want to spoil the story because you're obviously doing really well now. Like you've got a lot of great stuff going on. But maybe for those people who are listening along, whether it's students or parents, those people that haven't had an easy run or aren't having an easy run through high school, what advice would you have for them?
So yeah, this is something I didn't realise at all, really, until about a year after school, was that I knew there were other ways into uni, but I didn't realise that they were quite feasible and not that difficult at all. Yeah, it was quite easy, and so you know, a lot of people think the HSC is the be-all and end-all, and that's what I thought. And I thought, well, if you mess this up, then the other ways must be so much harder and just not worth it. But looking back, it was absolutely worth it, this other pathway. It just wasn't you failed, we'll give you another chance. It was very much a really beneficial thing for me. The advice to give to parents is let your kids know about that. You want to see them do well. That's a great thing, but some kids just need more of the time. I needed more of time, and so you don't want to stress them out unnecessarily. But yeah, if they're not fit, if school isn't going well for them at the time, which for a lot of people does happen, and that's just life, you can give them this hope that there's other ways, and they're good, great ways to get to where you want to go to.
Yeah, I really love that. I think it's easy. I'm now in my 40s, and it's so easy looking back and looking at myself when I was 18 and 20, and I was in such a rush. I felt like, oh man, like if I'm not getting this done right away, then I'm not successful, inverted commas, successful.
Absolutely.
But in fact, with the benefit of time, you look back and you're like, what was I so stressed about? Like, what was the rush? You got so much time when you're young, so
yeah, exactly.
Take the time and get it right.
Yeah. Doing that gap year where I did take the time, that was just amazing. And being able to think about, where do I want to head? Is it something I'm going to like and not be rushed into and then realize I made a bad decision and kind of waste time that way? Because a lot of people do. They go into uni and they just think, I've got to get there fast or else I'm going to fall behind. I mean, no, you can't fall behind at uni. Everyone takes the time they need. You got years to work anyway, so too many years. So yeah, having that time and then finding out what I want to do and that I really enjoy it. So I'm doing environmental biology now. I'm doing science, and I didn't do science in school, fun fact. And so yeah, realizing I actually enjoyed science and doing that now is crazy to look back and realize I've gone down that route, but I'm so happy I have.
All right, let's unpack that. I love this story. Let's dig into your gap year. Tell me a bit about your gap year and how you ended up stumbling into environmental biology. Awesome.
I did gap year program with a bunch of other people. Fun time on that.
Tell me about it. What did you do?
The gap year was called Year 13. It was a Christian gap year, and we'd hung out in the bush near Sutherland a couple of days a week and do some stuff you might do on a Christian camp, and also learn quite a few life skills. Like we learned how to jump start a car, change car tires, did a barista course. So the fellowship, the community was amazing. It was with 60 other people. So that just amazing memories there. And so going from really stressful school to suddenly that, massive contrast, nice just big sigh of relief. But then towards the end of that, the program really helped us to try and get ready for uni, get ready for life. So I was really grateful for that. So they prepared me in that way, and then I was starting to get thinking, well, where am I going to go? Do I want to go into uni? I realized I did, and learning about that. But again, during the gap year, we went to Fiji actually for a few weeks, helped out churches and schools, a bit of a mission trip there. And in Fiji, you realize that nobody rushes. Everyone makes time for each other. They take life slow, but they're not lazy. And so that was just eye-opening, seeing the contrast to how it's done here and thinking maybe we're doing it wrong, trying to rush everywhere. So then having that mindset when I'm starting uni and going, again, reinforcing that idea that, you don't have to rush things. You can have a great time when you make time. And so, yeah, coming to that decision, I want to go to uni. Obviously, when I'm spending a lot of time with my friends on my gap year, I realized a lot of them, some of them were doing sciences and they're really enjoying that, doing biology. I realized I loved being outdoors. So I was thinking, being outdoors. My mum was doing a lot of gardening, plants. They're cool, actually. And then I love watching Bear Grylls, David Attenborough. So just gathering all my interests, having the time to do that and realizing maybe something like environmental biology where I'm kind of do some field trips, work with plants, that could be a real good thing. And it turned out it has been a real good thing.
Can I jump in on that? That's so true. I mean, I think when you're at school and even early in uni in your career, you almost feel a bit guilty when you pursue things that you're really interested in, you really love. So you're saying, like you love watching Bear Grylls and being outdoors, and it kind of almost feels a bit like, oh, hang on a second, I shouldn't really be trying to make a career out of this. That doesn't feel sort of like, like real. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's true, the guilt that people have, because
we think of work as like, oh, I'm sitting at a desk or I'm teaching or whatever it is, but like it's such a fixed opinion of what it looks like.
For sure. Yeah. It's a classic picture. And although, people try and don't say, oh, do something which gets you a lot of money, people still feel that. And they feel like, the money's going to bring the enjoyment. But I mean, you're going to spend 5 days a week working. You don't want to have a horrible time during that time, end up with a bunch of money, but then realize you got to buy all your groceries and go shopping all the time as well. And actually, by the time you've got time to do something fun with your money, it's no time at all. Doing a job that you can actually be invested in and enjoy doing that, because that's what you're going to be doing most of the time. I think that's super important just for a healthy lifestyle, for sure. And you're just going to be happier. That's the fact of it.
100%. And, if you look around at the world, there's literally a job for everything. The one that I'm loving right now is Rachel Gunn, who went to the Olympics.
Yes.
And I imagine the college environment, that pathway environment, is probably smaller class sizes than once you get into the actual uni itself.
Yeah, for sure. It is smaller class sizes. That's a good thing because you get a chat with your tutors more. So
there is a job there help for you.
They're not trying to manage.
But so let's jump from, okay, you're like, okay, I love the outdoors.
In that way.
Science
that was a great thing. I do miss college. I do miss that part of college.
You're like, okay, I want to go to uni. What happens next?
So I had this dream. Suddenly I had motivation and ambition, but how was I going to get there? So obviously, want to go to uni, so got to start applying for unis. Probably you don't have the marks or so, my ATAR wasn't great, so I wasn't getting in. I mean, I didn't do science in school as well. So it was a bit, what do I do? But I stumbled across UTS College, and a lot of people don't know about UTS College, but you got the UTS main campus, you have the college part, and UTS College offers all these diploma courses and pathways to get into UTS. But I mean, the diploma is a qualification in itself, so that's another beneficial thing. Applied for that, and they accepted me, and I was thinking, wow, that's crazy. Suddenly, I have a chance. And so I was doing this diploma course, Diploma of Science, Life Sciences. It's a bit different to how your bachelor's degree will run. Your trimesters and everything's kind of set out for you. I realized that I just loved the course. We you spend a lot more time with people doing your diploma. And that was an amazing thing, being able to make friends that way. People who are also kind of in a similar position to me, realizing I'm not the only one who are also trying to get into UTS. And yeah, getting thrown into science and being motivated. And they taught it so well. And so although I hadn't done science, it didn't feel like I was behind. I learned so much, and yeah, I realized I loved science by doing this course, and that was the right thing.
What did that feel like? I mean, you went through school, didn't really find the subjects you're interested in, and suddenly you're sitting in a classroom and you're like, I dig this.
Oh, it felt incredible. Yeah, that was crazy because I was used to failing exams and not doing so well. And I deep down, I knew I could do it if I'd put the effort in. And so then being in the headspace to actually be able to do that, having had my break, getting back into learning when I was ready, which is important, and then kind of seeing the successes out of that. There's not many better feelings. And so looking back and going, wow, I have this diploma qualification. I'm now at UTS. I didn't think I could do it. Yeah, put a big smile on my face, that's for sure.
Incredible. So pathway through UTS College, and then what's the process of then going from this pathway program into UTS itself?
Yeah, that's important, this pathway program, because a lot of people think you do this pathway and you're going to be behind. They'll think, oh, you missed out on getting straight into uni. Well, you're never going to catch up. I mean, UTS College pathway, fabulous pathway. The pathway I did, the diploma course, took me straight to second year at UTS. So it's a lot of first-year subjects. They covered all the first-year subjects, and so I didn't miss out on anything. I was at the same stage as those other people who went straight into uni. Well, those who also took a year off.
Isn't that awesome? I mean, it's kind of like, you know, on the surface, people look at it and they're like, oh, you're behind. You know, once again, inverted commas, you're behind. And then, in fact, you're right in second year UTS, and suddenly you're exactly the same place as everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. But the better thing is you've actually made a lot of friends at UTS College who you bring with you. It's quite hard to make friends at uni sometimes because all your classes are all different. It's actually a privilege to be able to already have those friends and bring them into uni with you and spend time with them.
And I imagine the college environment, that pathway environment, is probably smaller class sizes than once you get into the actual uni itself.
Yeah, for sure. It is smaller class sizes. And that's a good thing because you get to chat with your tutors more. So they're really there to help you. They're not trying to manage 200 people. So you get taught better in that way. Yeah, that was a great thing. I do miss college. I do miss that part of college for sure.
Let's dig into your discipline now, like your actual study area, environmental biology. For those people who, maybe like you know, like, oh, I like the outdoors. Yeah, okay, plants are kind of cool, you know, this sort of thing. Give us a sense of what it's like to study it. What sort of topics you study, what you're enjoying about that discipline.
Yeah, last semester was my first semester on the main campus. I'm in my second year UTS, and I loved the subject aquatic ecosystems. I absolutely loved it. We went to Manly on a field trip and just got to collect samples around that area. It was a beautiful day, kind of by the beach. It was just amazing. And then take all those samples back into the lab and look at them further under a microscope and see a whole new world that you hadn't seen before. That was incredible. Yeah, it's definitely kind of met my expectations. And the lecturers, they have amazing stories themselves of how they've gone around their field trips and their lives around the country, around the globe, looking at all these different environments and studying them. So it's just great to chat to them about it, even when you're not doing that yourself every day, but realizing that someday you might be doing that like they have been, kind of building that dream. So I loved that subject. I'm enjoying the subjects now. There's huge variety, so sometimes we're looking at marine stuff or more terrestrial stuff. Science is like that. You just get a whole new stuff all the time, and so you don't know what's coming next.
Those conversations with your academics, your teachers, has that given you more ideas for the future, things you might pursue?
Yeah, it has, I think.
The reason I ask is just, you know, you don't know what you don't know. Right?
Yeah,
I was just saying, like, my first year of uni, we were kind of walking around. I studied biology as well, my first degree. And we were walking, academic took us for this tour around the faculty. And he was walking down the hall and he pointed to that door and he said, oh, this is the biodiversity laboratory. And hey, you know, if you want, you could volunteer in here. And I don't know why, but just one person saying that one thing made me go, oh, I could volunteer in a real science lab. And that one moment, one academic saying one thing actually tipped me into this whole experience of working in a biology lab during my time at uni. God, I learned a lot, you know, from real scientists doing real work. I ended up getting paid for it. So yeah, I'm just curious about the sort of things that might have that might have sparked for you?
So I work in a lab as well outside of uni.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, I know. I do a lot of labs in uni, and that's been great. And yeah, again, I didn't think I would have ended up there, but it's one of the benefits of having gone to UTS College. You end up with this qualification. And so after I got this diploma, I was thinking, well, surely I can do something with this. And my sister had done work experience in this lab, and I thought I'd hit them up and go, hey, I have a diploma. Is there anything that you've got for me that I can use these skills I've learned? And then they said, sure. Took me in as a lab assistant, bit of an all-rounder, help out with the different sections where I'm needed. And yeah, that's been amazing. Being able to kind of have the knowledge from UTS College and put them into practice has been satisfying for sure. And sometimes when the people working there have reminded me of some of those, of what I've learned, I've gone, oh yes, I remember doing that in Chem 2 or so, one of the classes I did back at college. That's been great, really satisfying. And yeah, it's just shown kind of that UTS College isn't just a pathway into UTS. It does set you up for life as well, faster than you imagine. Like, if I'd just gone straight to uni, I probably wouldn't have been at this lab maybe. I wouldn't have had a qualification to use. Previously, I thought, environmental biology, good fun outdoors, but, it might not pay so well, so you actually don't know how much you might get to travel. But then hearing that these lecturers have gone so far, seen all these amazing places, you're kind of going, wow, I could work. Maybe I would enjoy working out in the desert. I didn't think about that before, but, why not? So definitely just pushing the boundaries of my thinking of where you can work. And that, harsh environments, you don't usually want to stand out there, but actually studying them could be a lot of fun. So, over time, I've got more and more interested in natural disasters. And so maybe studying how they work, that could be real fun.
G'day, it's Rob here. Hey, are you a parent or a carer of a student that's thinking of going to uni in the years ahead? Did you know that Choosing Your Uni has a whole bunch of resources that are just for people like you? And you can find those at parents.choosingyouruni.com. You're going to find things like links to our Facebook community, downloadable worksheets, and heaps of advice by parents for parents. It's all the sort of stuff that you need to help guide your student on their journey to uni and beyond. Check it out now, parents.choosingyouruni.com. Sorry, you've jogged a memory for me too. It's funny because when I was in first year uni and did a course on natural disasters, that was the unlock moment for me, quite literally, sitting in a class and we were talking about tropical cyclones. And the lecturer was talking about this researcher in the US who's the most famous cyclone researcher in the world. And I just had this unlock where I said, oh my God, I could do that as my career. I could be the world's leading expert on tropical cyclones.
In our subject, plant physiology and climate change, we're growing some plants and we're going to stress them out essentially. How they can survive under stress. So with our plants particularly, where I'm going to cover it with dust, try and maybe mimic like sandstorms or dust storms, which are becoming more frequent. And so we're already doing some of that now, seeing what can happen with when natural disasters come about. And obviously, like, we live in Australia, there's going to be fires all the time, so kind of have to get used to them a bit. But maybe we can embrace them a little bit. We don't really want them, so we don't want to encourage them and make things worse, but the fact is they are around us.
So what's a day in the life of a science student look like?
I have a lot of laboratories, labs. That's when I'm usually on campus, rushing to get to the lab on time. Make sure I have all my safety gear, and the labs are pretty cool. There's the Hive lab at UTS. That's pretty slick and clean, and you've got to be careful you're not contaminating yourself with whatever might have been left there, but it's pretty safe. What's the Hive lab? The Hive lab. So it's underground, building 2, if you ever come around. It looks like a bit of a beehive, why it's called the Hive Lab. It's got nice colours and different sections. You go to the coloured section where you're working, where you've been told, and it's got cool tech. So, because I can't remember how they describe it, but essentially you want to be wary of contaminants, so you can't bring in. It's paperless. You don't bring in paper. You don't bring in your phones. They have kind of iPad things there for you that you wipe down, and keyboards and all that's kind of there and gets cleaned. And so you're thinking, working in a bit of a maybe dangerous area. It's not too dangerous, but
sterile environment.
Yeah, sterile. That's the word. Eh? So yeah, and then but doing DNA, getting DNA out of bananas. That was the last lab. That was a bit of fun, learning skills and gradually getting onto more complicated things has been quite the journey.
What would 17-year-old Lewin have said about the fact that one day you'd be getting DNA out of bananas?
I mean, if you'd told me that I was going to do science, I would have said you're joking. So to actually say, yeah, you're going to be fully invested in that and getting... I don't think I would have been that interested in looking at all... I just looked at the world around me and went, oh, that's cool. But to actually get into the fine details and really investigate to that extent, even though it's just a banana, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't have imagined it back then.
Let's shift gears and talk about the life here on campus. As I was saying right at the top, beautiful sunny day here in Sydney. Tons of students out here on this sort of central lawn section. People are sipping on coffees, they're eating lunch, they're chatting, they're reading. What's it like to study here?
So actually, when I am actually studying, it's amazing. I absolutely love the library in Building 2. It is so pretty. So I reckon it's got the best library in Sydney. And then when I want to chill out a bit, I mean, Sydney's an amazing place for a start, but UTS has such a convenient location. So it's so close to Central. Get on a train, get on a ferry to Manly. I've done that a couple of times where I just went from uni, brought my surfboard in, went to Manly, had a bit of fun time there, came back here. And then all the cafes and places, they're great. So there's a cafe kind of diagonally behind us that does $2 coffees at 2 p.m. and live off that a bit. Yeah, and I love this green. The area we're sitting on now is such a good community space. Sometimes they get the deck chairs out and you just sunbathe, you just have a little nap and you photosynthesize. Yeah, and then when you're ready... You get back on the grinds and you feel really refreshed. And yeah, there's such good seating areas. It's really, really an ideal place.
You involved in any clubs and societies?
Not really currently. So I go to the Christian group Credo, make a lot of friends there. That's been really great. I used to play cricket with UTS Sport.
Oh, yeah, cool.
I'd like to be more involved. So I signed up for a bunch of environmental societies and they look fascinating. And I still need to quite kind of push myself into that. So that is my plan, though, because the societies here, from what I've heard and seen, and they are amazing. So that is kind of one of my goals at the moment, to get the best out of uni, push myself more into that area.
Yeah, what I love about the sort of pathway options, I mean, for some students going straight into uni, that's absolutely awesome. In fact, lots of people that works. But taking a pathway gives you the opportunity to develop those like core skills around studying, around engaging, in an academic environment. In this case, the laboratory in a professional environment. So, it's such a great option, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying, everyone has to do this pathway. Going straight into uni is beneficial for a lot, perhaps most people. And so, it does depend on your situation. For me, the pathway was the best thing. That's the same for other people.
One of the things that I hear a lot from uni students is that it's such a shock when you go out of school, where you're in this small class, or small class groups, you'd get dropped into uni first year with hundreds of students, and the studying and the learning style, the teaching style is vastly different.
Absolutely. So it is a bigger jump than people realize, I think. Suddenly, it's a bit more on you. You've got to be organized and be on top of things and really push yourself. People aren't checking up on you all the time. And so the pathway really kind of smoothed that jump. College, the smaller classrooms again, you know your lecturers more. That was really beneficial. But kind of the workload they had, some people might find that a bit heavy. But it is set out really well. So when you kind of start to get into it, you realize, well, you can do it. It's structured in a really beneficial way. And that pre-work you have before a tutorial and then the revision that's kind of organized through the subject really helped me take this on for myself and go, okay, here are the tools and the resources that are there for me to learn to be self-organized. And, those things, they're marked. They're not heavy marks, but it's nice encouragement to those marks. You realize, I got some marks out of that. And so that really set me up. When I started my bachelor's degree, having that framework behind me and being able to use that has made it really smooth.
Let's talk a little bit about logistics. You did mention earlier, of course, UTS inner city location. It basically flows straight out of the campus into Chinatown, which is incredible. You got the best food in Sydney pretty much within striking distance of here, but also Central Station right nearby, lots of public transport and things like this. You're on the new metro.
I am.
Talking about.
That's been fabulous. So halves my commute time, that's for sure. Yeah, catch the metro, get on at Chatswood, get off at Central. Commutes, they're exhilarating for now. I'll probably get used to it. That's the thing about UTS. It's just such a convenient location. You got a tunnel from UTS that takes you straight into Central Station. Really quick that way. People often complain about how long their travel time is. I'm lucky in that mine's not that long. Some people have longer. They're not on the metro. But, I mean, still, UTS, it's in the city. You have so much around. Like you said, great food. So you kind of got to watch your spending in that sense.
Maybe lastly, secret tips on campus. I mean, I'm sort of leaning back here. I'm looking up in some of these glass facade buildings, and I can see students chilling out in these big, comfortable chairs. They're chatting and laughing with each other. That looks like a kind of fun place to spend time. But what about for you here on this campus? Are there any sort of tips or tricks or things that you'd suggest to people that they should know about?
Yeah, so me and my mates love to go one of the bottom levels of Building 2, and there are great tables there with chairs all around. So you want to nab those space. If you're good at studying with people, there are great tables. You can do that. And so find those tables, find a place you like, and then make that kind of your own and try and get there. But yeah, definitely take advantage of the kind of loungy areas, especially on those balconies. You might as well just take the lift up to the top of some of these buildings and have a look at the amazing views you get for a start, and then see what places you really like to just have a bit of a nap.
It is interesting. I'm glad you mentioned the spaces, because a long time ago, over 10 years ago now, UTS realised they had this issue where it was a kind of a commute in, commute out campus. People come in for class and then they would just get the heck out of here. And the university had set up a deliberate strategy. I knew some of the senior exec here back then. Deliberate strategy to make this a sticky campus, to make it a place where people wanted to just come and spend time and chill before and after class. And to me, it kind of feels like it's achieved that, yeah?
Oh, for sure. Definitely with me and my friends. There are times I've just come into uni, I don't have anything on, but the environment studying has been fabulous. And then, yeah, again, this whole green area, you got a beautiful sunny day, and the design's really nice. I mean, the buildings used to be more ugly, but now they've got some new ones. They're great to look at. It's a great meeting space, that's for sure. So you can come here and you hit up your mates, and they might not be at or from UTS, and they'll just come and they'll go, wow, this is a cool place. And so I'll give some mates a tour of some of the buildings, show them up to the library. That's a favorite place to show people. They just kind of look gobsmacked at how nice it is, how pretty it is. There's dead silence as well. It's a bit intimidating, but that's kind of the whole appeal of it as well.
So UTS ranks in the top 100 institutions in the world. Student satisfaction ratings are good. If you look at the compared.edu.au website, lots of good data on there, and the university performs really, really well on that, and has a whole bunch of discipline areas where it's amongst the top in Australia and ranks very, very highly in the world. So, we're so lucky in Sydney to have such incredible institutions. And UTS well and truly deserves its place. It really is just an awesome institution, lots of extracurricular opportunities as well, and it's definitely worth a look across a very, very wide range of disciplines. Lewin, it's been awesome chatting with you. Any final thoughts? If somebody were considering putting UTS on their preference list, what would you say to them?
I've been trying to convince my sister to come. Yeah, I don't know if that will happen, but I do try and do that, convince people, because I love studying here, and I want to continue studying here for quite a while. I want to make the most of this time because I do love it so much. So yeah, my advice is to come check it out. I think a lot of people think, I'll just go to UNSW or UC because they got better rankings or so. But for overall satisfaction, surely from my mates who I've talked to, they love it. And most people I've talked to are really happy with this place, and I certainly am. And you're going to have a fun time, that's for sure. It's the environment you can study well in and enjoy. And I think that's really, really important. So UTS all the way.
Lewin, thanks for joining me on the Choosing Your Uni podcast.
Thank you.
At Choosing Your Uni, our mission is to make finding your ideal institution and your degree fun, easy and stress-free. So if you're looking to save some time, to discover more and to get personalised advice for every step of your journey, check out choosingyouruni.com. Our theme music is composed by Pasha Shogi and his band Flow, and this episode has been researched and constructed on Garigal land in Sydney. Until next time, have yourself an awesome day.